So, today we're diving into a pretty provocative document. It lays out five potential, and let's be honest, pretty shocking paths for societies that are facing something called demographic winter. Our job here is just to explain each option exactly as it's laid out in the source material, without taking any sides.
First things first, what exactly is demographic winter? Well, it's the term used when birth rates drop so low that a country's population actually starts to shrink and get older. Now, the document we're looking at, it doesn't just talk about the problem. Oh no, it presents five incredibly different ideas for how to solve it. Okay, so the first option on the table is mass immigration. According to the text, this is basically the path a lot of Western countries are already on. It's presented as the current status quo. Now, the document describes this as, importing people from countries where the birth rates are higher. But it's the framing that's really key here. The text argues that for this to work, the existing population has to accept, and I'm quoting this directly from the source, their own ethnic and cultural replacement. Option 2, it shifts gears completely. It moves away from immigration and instead suggests a massive change in social policy right at home. This one is called the female work ban, and yeah, it's aimed squarely at the role of women in society. So here's how they lay it out. It's a two-step plan. First, women would be banned from having a job or going to college until they hit 40. But, and this is the second part, that ban only gets lifted after they've had at least 2 children. All right, moving on to option 3. This one proposes something even more radical, a total restructuring of society that would change where and how we all live. The idea is to de-urbanize the cities. The logic here, as presented in the document, is that if you move families out into rural areas, children stop being an economic burden and become an economic asset instead. And just to really hammer home how extreme this idea is, the document itself adds a pretty chilling historical note in parentheses, Cambodia Year Zero, which is a direct reference to a really brutal campaign of forced de-urbanization. Now for the fourth option, which does a complete 180 from the first one. Instead of fighting a shrinking population with immigration, this proposal is to just, accept depopulation. The idea is pretty simple. You close the borders to mass immigration, and you just let the population shrink on its own. The source document actually points to Japan as a real-world example of a country that it says has already gone down this path. And when you see these two side by side, it really drives home the range of ideas in this document. I mean, you've got one strategy that says bring in new people to fill the gap, and the other says, nope, close the doors and manage the decline from within. They're presented as total opposites for fixing the exact same problem. And that brings us to the fifth and final option. This is, without a doubt, the most extreme and direct proposal that's listed in this whole document. Yeah, there's no complicated explanation or big plan laid out for this one. The source text presents its fifth and final option in just 2 words: enslave women. So just to recap, let's look at all of them together. The source document puts forward this range of options, from mass immigration and accepting depopulation to radical social engineering like banning women from work and clearing out cities, all the way to, the enslavement of women. And that really leads us to the final and most important question here. We've just walked through these 5 options exactly as they're written in the source text. The point isn't to argue about which one is best or worst. The real question we're left with is this: what does it mean when the conversation about a problem leads to a list of solutions that look like this? What does that tell us about the discourse itself?